Do you want to successfully complete the C963 Objective Assessment Exam? Then you are in the right place. Our website provides a list of questions and answers for your success in the C963 OA Exam for free. We understand that acing your OA exam can be quite challenging. That's why we provide completely free exam guides and practice questions for you. In this video, we will cover questions from founding documents, government branches, federalism principles, civil liberties, and electoral process. So, let's get started. 1. What is the main responsibility of the US Congress? A. Enforcing laws. B. Creating laws. C. Interpreting laws. D. Overturning laws. What do you think is the answer? Correct answer. B. Creating laws. Explanation. Option B is correct because the US Congress is the part of the government that makes the rules for the country. They discuss, write, and vote on new laws that everyone has to follow. Option A is incorrect because enforcing laws is the job of the President and the executive branch, like the police and government agencies. Option C is incorrect because interpreting laws is the job of the courts, especially the Supreme Court, to decide what laws mean. Option D is incorrect because while Congress can change or repeal old laws by passing new ones, the power to declare a law unconstitutional belongs to the judicial branch. 2. What was the impact of the Supreme Court's decision in Plessy v. Ferguson? A. Legalize school segregation. B. Establish the separate but equal doctrine. C. Outlawed racial discrimination. D. Promoted integration in public facilities. Can you guess the answer? Correct answer. B. Establish the separate but equal doctrine. Explanation. Option B is correct because in the Plessy v. Ferguson case, the Supreme Court said it was okay for states to have separate facilities for black people and white people as long as those facilities were equal. This became known as the separate but equal idea, and it allowed racial segregation to continue for many years. Option A is incorrect because legalized school segregation was a consequence of separate but equal is the specific legal doctrine established by the case. Option C is incorrect because Plessy v. Ferguson actually did the opposite by legally allowing a form of racial discrimination. Option D is incorrect because it legally supported segregation, not integration. 3. Who is next in line for the presidency after the vice president? A. Secretary of State. B. President pro tempore of the Senate. C. Speaker of the House. D. Secretary of Defense. Can you guess the answer? Correct answer. C. Speaker of the House. Explanation. Option C is correct because if something happens and both the President and the Vice President cannot do their jobs, the Speaker of the House of Representatives is next in line to become President. It is like having a backup plan for the country's leadership. Option A is incorrect because the Secretary of State is further down the list of succession after the Speaker of the House. Option B is incorrect because the President pro tempore of the Senate is also in the line of succession, but after the Speaker of the House. Option D is incorrect because the Secretary of Defense is in the line of succession as well, but much further down the list. 4. What principle was established by the landmark case McCulloch v. Maryland? A. States can override federal law. B. Judicial review. C. Federal supremacy over state law. D. Separation of powers. Do you know the answer? Correct answer, C. Federal supremacy over state law. Explanation. Option C is correct because the McCulloch versus Maryland case decided that when a federal law and a state law disagree, the federal law wins. This is called federal supremacy. It also confirmed that Congress has implied powers not explicitly written in the Constitution, but necessary to carry out its listed duties. Option A is incorrect because it is the opposite of what the case established. Option B is incorrect because judicial review is established by Marbury versus Madison, not this case. Option D is incorrect because separation of powers is a fundamental principle of the government, but it was not the main principle established by this specific case. 5. Which amendment protects the freedom of speech? A. The First Amendment. B. The Second Amendment. C. The Fourth Amendment. D. The Sixth Amendment. Can you guess the answer? Correct answer, A. The First Amendment. Explanation. Option A is correct because the First Amendment to the US Constitution protects several basic freedoms, including the freedom to say what you think, freedom of religion, freedom of the press, the right to gather peacefully, and the right to ask the government to fix problems. Option B is incorrect because the Second Amendment protects the right to bear arms. Option C is incorrect because the Fourth Amendment protects against unreasonable searches and seizures. Option D is incorrect because the Sixth Amendment guarantees rights related to criminal trials, like the right to a speedy trial and a lawyer. 6. What does the Fourth Amendment protect against? A. Unreasonable searches and seizures. B. Self-incrimination. C. Cruel and unusual punishment. D. Double jeopardy. Can you guess the answer? Correct answer, A. Unreasonable searches and seizures. Explanation. Option A is correct because the Fourth Amendment is all about your privacy from the government. It says that the police or other government officials can't search you or your property or take your things without a good reason, and usually they need a warrant to do so. Option B is incorrect because self-incrimination is protected by the Fifth Amendment, which is the right to remain silent. Option C is incorrect because cruel and unusual punishment is protected by the Eighth Amendment. Option D is incorrect because double jeopardy is also protected by the Fifth Amendment, which means you can't be tried for the same crime twice. 7. Which case established the principle of judicial review? A. Gibbons versus Ogden. B. McCulloch versus Maryland. C. Marbury versus Madison. D. Plessy versus Ferguson. Do you know the answer? Correct answer, C. Marbury versus Madison. Explanation. Option C is correct because Marbury versus Madison is where the court gave itself the power called judicial review, meaning the Supreme Court can look at laws passed by Congress or the President and decide if they are constitutional. Option A is incorrect because Gibbons versus Ogden dealt with Congress's power to regulate interstate commerce. Option B is incorrect because McCulloch versus Maryland established federal supremacy and implied powers. Option D is incorrect because Plessy versus Ferguson established the separate but equal doctrine. 8. What is the minimum age requirement to run for the US Senate? A. 21, B. 25, C. 30, D. 35. Do you know the answer? Correct answer, C. 30. Explanation. Option C is correct because to be a US Senator, representing a whole state in one of the two houses of Congress, You have to be at least 30 years old. There are also rules about being a US citizen for a certain number of years and living in the state you want to represent. Option A is incorrect because 21 is the minimum drinking age in the United States, but it has no relevance to holding federal office. Option B is incorrect because 25 is the minimum age for a member of the House of Representatives. Option D is incorrect because 35 is the minimum age required to be the President of the United States. 9. What did the 13th Amendment accomplish? A. Gave women the right to vote. B. Abolished slavery. C. Guaranteed due process. D. Established federal income tax. Can you guess the answer? Correct answer, B. Abolished slavery. Explanation. Option B is correct because the 13th Amendment, added to the Constitution in 1865 right after the Civil War, officially ended slavery and involuntary servitude everywhere in the United States. This was a huge and fundamental change. Option A is incorrect because the 19th Amendment gave women the right to vote, not the 13th. Option C is incorrect because the 5th and 14th Amendments primarily guarantee due process, not the 13th. Option D is incorrect because the 16th Amendment made the federal income tax possible, not the 13th. 10. Which body has the power to impeach a president? A. The Senate. B. The House of Representatives. C. The Supreme Court. D. The Vice President. What do you think is the answer? Correct answer, B. The House of Representatives. Explanation. Option B is correct because if a president is accused of doing something seriously wrong, the House of Representatives has the power to impeach them. Impeachment is like a formal accusation or indictment. Option A is incorrect because after the House impeaches, the Senate then holds a trial to decide if the official should be removed from office. Option C is incorrect because the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court presides over a presidential impeachment trial in the Senate, but the court itself does not impeach. Option D is incorrect because the Vice President has no role in impeaching the President. 11. Which amendment established the two-term limit for the US President? A. The 18th Amendment. B. The 19th Amendment. C. The 22nd Amendment. D. The 25th Amendment. Can you guess the answer? Correct answer, C. The 22nd Amendment. Explanation. Option C is correct because the 22nd Amendment to the Constitution, passed in 1951, limits a president to 2 terms in office. Option A is incorrect because the 18th Amendment established prohibition, banning alcohol. Option B is incorrect because the 19th Amendment gave women the right to vote. Option D is incorrect because the 25th Amendment deals with presidential succession and disability. 12. What is the primary function of the US Supreme Court? A. To create laws. B. To enforce laws. C. To interpret the Constitution. D. To conduct trials. Can you guess the answer? Correct answer, C. To interpret the Constitution. Explanation. Option C is correct because the US Supreme Court is the highest court in the country, and its main job is to interpret the US Constitution. When there are disagreements about what a law means, or whether a law follows the rules of the Constitution, the Supreme Court makes the final decision. This is part of the system of checks and balances. Option A is incorrect because creating laws is the job of Congress, the legislative branch. Option B is incorrect because enforcing laws is the job of the President and the executive branch. Option D is incorrect because while the Supreme Court does have original jurisdiction, in very specific, rare cases, most of its work involves hearing appeals from lower courts and interpreting laws. 13. How many amendments does the US Constitution currently have? A. 10, B. 22, C. 27, D. 33. What do you think is the answer? Correct answer, C. 27. Explanation: Option C is correct because the US Constitution has been changed or added to 27 times. These changes are called amendments. The first 10 amendments are famously known as the Bill of Rights. The most recent one, the 27th Amendment, was ratified in 1992. Option A is incorrect because 10 refers to the Bill of Rights only, not to the total number of amendments. Option B is incorrect because the Constitution has more than 22 amendments. The correct number is 27. Option D is incorrect because the Constitution has fewer than 33 amendments. The correct number is 27. 14. What was the purpose of the 15th Amendment? A. To abolish slavery. B. To grant women the right to vote. C. To give African American men the right to vote. D. To establish income tax. What do you think is the answer? Correct answer, C. To give African American men the right to vote. Explanation: Option C is correct because the 15th Amendment, added to the Constitution in 1870, was a very important step after the Civil War. It says that the right of citizens to vote cannot be denied by the US or any state because of race, colour, or previous condition of servitude. This was intended to ensure that African American men could vote. Option A is incorrect because abolishing slavery was the purpose of the 13th Amendment. Option B is incorrect because granting women the right to vote was the purpose of the 19th Amendment. Option D is incorrect because establishing income tax was made possible by the 16th Amendment. 15. What does the term bicameral legislature refer to in the US government? A. A one-house system. B. A two-house system. C. A three-branch system. D. A representative-only system. Can you guess the answer? Correct answer, B. A two-house system. Explanation: Option B is correct because bicameral means two chambers, or two houses, as in the House of Representatives and the Senate. Option A is incorrect because a one-house system is called unicameral. Option C is incorrect because a three-branch system refers to the separation of powers into legislative, executive, and judicial branches. Option D is incorrect because most modern legislatures are representative. 16. Which of the following is protected by the Fifth Amendment? A. Right to bear arms. B. Protection against double jeopardy. C. Right to a public trial. D. Protection against excessive bail. Can you guess the answer? Correct answer, B. Protection against double jeopardy. Explanation: Option B is correct because the Fifth Amendment provides several important protections for people accused of crimes. One of these is protection against double jeopardy, which means you can't be put on trial twice for the exact same crime if you've already been found innocent. Option A is incorrect because the right to bear arms is protected by the Second Amendment. Option C is incorrect because the right to a public trial is protected by the Sixth Amendment. Option D is incorrect because protection against excessive bail is protected by the Eighth Amendment. 17. How many senators are in the US Senate? A. 50, B. 100, C. 150, D. 435. What do you think is the answer? Correct answer, B. 100. Explanation. Option B is correct because the US Senate is set up so that every state gets exactly 2 senators. With 50 states in the US, there are 50 times 2, or 100 senators in total. Option A is incorrect because 50 is the number of states in the United States, not the number of senators. Option C is incorrect because 150 would mean each state has 3 senators, which is not how the Senate is structured. Option D is incorrect because 435 is the number of members in the House of Representatives, not the Senate. 18. What is the main purpose of the legislative branch? A. To create laws. B. To enforce laws. C. To interpret laws. D. To amend the Constitution. What do you think is the answer? Correct answer, A. To create laws. Explanation. Option A is correct because the legislative branch of the US government is Congress, and its primary job is to make laws for the country. They debate ideas, write bills, and vote on whether those bills should become laws. Option B is incorrect because enforcing laws is the job of the executive branch. Option C is incorrect because interpreting laws is the job of the judicial branch. Option D is incorrect because while the legislative branch is involved in amending the Constitution, its main purpose is making laws. 19. Which amendment protects against cruel and unusual punishment? A. The Fifth Amendment. B. The Sixth Amendment. C. The Eighth Amendment. D. The 10th Amendment. Can you guess the answer? Correct answer, C. The Eighth Amendment. Explanation. Option C is correct because the Eighth Amendment to the Constitution is there to make sure that punishments for crimes are fair and not overly harsh or barbaric. It specifically prohibits cruel and unusual punishments. It also says that courts can't demand excessive bail or impose excessive fines. Option A is incorrect because the Fifth Amendment protects against self-incrimination and double jeopardy, among other things. Option B is incorrect because the Sixth Amendment guarantees rights in criminal trials, like the right to a lawyer. Option D is incorrect because the 10th Amendment deals with powers reserved to the states or the people. 20. How long is the term for a US Supreme Court justice? A. 4 years, B. 6 years, C. 10 years, D. Life or until retirement. Do you know the answer? Correct answer, D. Life or until retirement. Explanation. Option D is correct because once a person is appointed as a justice on the US Supreme Court and confirmed by the Senate, they can serve for the rest of their life. They don't have a fixed term length, like the President or members of Congress. They can choose to retire whenever they want, or they can serve until they pass away. This is designed to help them make decisions based on the law without worrying about political pressure or getting re-elected. Option A is incorrect because Supreme Court justices do not have a term of 4 years. Option B is incorrect because Supreme Court justices do not have a term of 6 years. Option C is incorrect because Supreme Court justices do not have a term of 10 years. 21. What's the primary purpose of the executive branch? A. To make laws. B. To interpret laws. C. To enforce laws. D. To draft amendments. Can you guess the answer? Correct answer, C. To enforce laws. Explanation. Option C is correct because the executive branch of the US government is led by the President, and its main job is to carry out and enforce the laws that are made by Congress. Option A is incorrect because making laws is the job of the legislative branch. Option B is incorrect because interpreting laws is the job of the judicial branch. Option D is incorrect because drafting amendments is a process that can be initiated by Congress or the states, not a primary function of the executive branch. 22. Which amendment guarantees the right to a trial by jury in civil cases? A. The Fifth Amendment. B. The Sixth Amendment. C. The Seventh Amendment. D. The 10th Amendment. Can you guess the answer? Correct answer, C. The 7th Amendment. Explanation. Option C is correct because the 7th Amendment specifically deals with civil cases. These are lawsuits between people or organisations, usually about money, property, or contracts, not criminal cases where someone is accused of breaking a law. It says that in many types of federal civil cases involving a certain amount of money, people have the right to have their case decided by a jury. Option A is incorrect because the Fifth Amendment covers rights in criminal cases like due process and protection against self-incrimination. Option B is incorrect because the Sixth Amendment guarantees rights in criminal trials, like the right to a speedy trial and a lawyer. Option D is incorrect because the 10th Amendment deals with powers reserved to the states. 23. How are the number of seats each state receives in the House of Representatives determined? A. By state population. B. By state size. C. By the number of senators. D. By presidential appointment. What do you think is the answer? Correct answer, A. By state population. Explanation. Option A is correct because the number of representatives each state gets in the US House of Representatives is based on how many people live in that state. States with more people get more representatives. Every 10 years, the government does a census, and the number of seats can change based on population shifts. Option B is incorrect because geographic size doesn't determine representation in the House. Option C is incorrect because each state gets 2 senators regardless of population. Option D is incorrect because representatives are elected by the people of their state. 24. What was the primary purpose of the 14th Amendment? A. To establish income tax. B. To define citizenship and equal protection. C. To grant voting rights to women. D. To limit presidential terms. Do you know the answer? Correct answer, B. To define citizenship and equal protection. Explanation. Option B is correct because the 14th Amendment, ratified in 1868 after the Civil War, defines who is a United States citizen and guarantees all citizens equal protection of the laws, meaning states cannot unfairly discriminate against people, and due process of law, meaning fair treatment by the government. Option A is incorrect because the 16th Amendment made income tax possible. Option C is incorrect because the 19th Amendment granted voting rights to women. Option D is incorrect because the 22nd Amendment limited presidential terms. 25. Which branch of government has the power to declare war? A. Executive branch. B. Judicial branch. C. Legislative branch. D. Supreme Court. What do you think is the answer? Correct answer, C. Legislative branch. Explanation. Option C is correct because the US Constitution gives the power to officially declare war to Congress, which is the legislative branch. This is an important check on the power of the president, who heads the executive branch, and is the commander-in-chief of the military, but cannot declare war alone. Option A is incorrect because the president can direct military actions, but needs Congress to declare war. Option B is incorrect because the judicial branch interprets laws and does not have the power to declare war. Option D is incorrect because the Supreme Court interprets laws and does not have the power to declare war. 26. What was the significance of the Brown versus Board of Education decision? A. Legalized racial segregation. B. Prohibited interracial marriage. C. Overturned separate but equal doctrine. D. Required racial quotas in schools. Do you know the answer? Correct answer. C. Overturned separate but equal doctrine. Explanation. Option C is correct because the Brown versus Board of Education of Topeka case in 1954 was a landmark Supreme Court decision that declared that state-sponsored segregation in public schools was unconstitutional because separate educational facilities are inherently unequal. This powerful ruling overturned the old separate but equal doctrine that was established by Plessy versus Ferguson. Option A is incorrect because legalizing racial segregation is what Plessy versus Ferguson did. Option B is incorrect because prohibiting interracial marriage was dealt with in other cases like Loving versus Virginia. Option D is incorrect because the decision was about ending segregation, not establishing quotas. 27. Which constitutional amendment abolished poll taxes? A. 15th Amendment. B. 19th Amendment. C. 24th Amendment. D. 26th Amendment. Do you know the answer? Correct answer. C. 24th Amendment. Explanation. Option C is correct because the 24th Amendment, ratified in 1964, made it illegal to charge a poll tax, a fee for voting, in federal elections. Poll taxes had been used in some states to prevent poor people, especially African Americans, from voting. This amendment helped make voting more accessible. Option A is incorrect because the 15th Amendment prohibited denying the vote based on race, colour, or previous condition of servitude. Option B is incorrect because the 19th Amendment gave women the right to vote. Option D is incorrect because the 26th Amendment lowered the voting age to 18. 28. What was the primary effect of the Voting Rights Act of 1965? A. Lowered the voting age to 18. B. Prohibited racial discrimination in voting. C. Allowed for absentee voting. D. Limited presidential terms. What do you think is the answer? Correct answer. B. Prohibited racial discrimination in voting. Explanation. Option B is correct because the Voting Rights Act of 1965 was a very important piece of civil rights legislation. Its main goal was to stop practices that were being used, especially in some southern states, to prevent African Americans from registering to vote and from voting. It outlawed literacy tests and gave the federal government more power to oversee elections in areas with a history of discrimination. Option A is incorrect because lowering the voting age to 18 was accomplished by the 26th Amendment to the Constitution, not the Voting Rights Act. Option C is incorrect because while the Voting Rights Act addressed voting access, provisions for absentee voting are generally handled by state laws, though federal laws can influence them. Option D is incorrect because limiting presidential terms was done by the 22nd Amendment to the Constitution, not the Voting Rights Act. 29. Which amendment grants women the right to vote? A. 15th Amendment. B. 19th Amendment. C. 21st Amendment. D. 26th Amendment. Do you know the answer? Correct answer, B. 19th Amendment. Explanation: Option B is correct because the 19th Amendment to the US Constitution, ratified in 1920, was a huge victory for the women's suffrage movement. It states that the right of citizens to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state on account of sex, which officially gave women across the country the right to vote. Option A is incorrect because the 15th Amendment prohibited denying the vote based on race, but only applied to men. Option C is incorrect because the 21st Amendment repealed prohibition, which had nothing to do with voting rights for women. Option D is incorrect because the 26th Amendment lowered the voting age to 18, but did not address women's suffrage. 30. What type of law involves cases where the government prosecutes an individual for violating public laws? A. Civil law. B. Criminal law. C. Family law. D. Contract law. Can you guess the answer? Correct answer, B. Criminal law. Explanation: Option B is correct because criminal law deals with actions that are considered offences against society as a whole, not just against an individual person. When someone breaks a criminal law, it's the government that brings charges and prosecutes the accused person. Option A is incorrect because civil law deals with disputes between individuals or organisations, like contract disagreements or personal injury claims. Option C is incorrect because family law deals with issues like marriage, divorce, and child custody. Option D is incorrect because contract law is a part of civil law dealing with agreements. 31. Which landmark Supreme Court case ruled that evidence obtained in violation of the Fourth Amendment cannot be used in court? A. Mapp v. Ohio. B. Miranda v. Arizona. C. Roe v. Wade. D. Tinker v. Des Moines. What do you think is the answer? Correct answer, A. Mapp v. Ohio. Explanation: Option A is correct because the Mapp versus Ohio case in 1961 established the exclusionary rule for state courts, meaning illegally obtained evidence cannot be used against the person in a criminal trial. Option B is incorrect because Miranda versus Arizona established that suspects must be informed of their rights before questioning. Option C is incorrect because Roe versus Wade dealt with abortion rights. Option D is incorrect because Tinker versus Des Moines dealt with students' free speech rights in schools. 32. What is the primary role of the judicial branch? A. To enforce laws. B. To interpret laws. C. To make laws. D. To fund government programs. Can you guess the answer? Correct answer, B. To interpret laws. Explanation: Option B is correct because the judicial branch of the United States government, which includes the Supreme Court and other federal courts, has the main job of interpreting the laws of the country. This means they decide what laws mean, how they apply to specific situations, and whether laws passed by Congress or actions taken by the executive branch are constitutional. Option A is incorrect because enforcing laws is the role of the executive branch. Option C is incorrect because making laws is the role of the legislative branch. Option D is incorrect because funding government programs is primarily a power of the legislative branch through appropriations. 33. Who has the power to approve treaties with foreign nations? A. The President. B. The Senate. C. The House of Representatives. D. The Supreme Court. Can you guess the answer? Correct answer, B. The Senate. Explanation. Option B is correct because while the President has the power to negotiate and make treaties with other countries, those treaties don't become official United States law until the Senate approves them. The Senate must give its advice and consent by a 2/3 vote for a treaty to be ratified. Option A is incorrect because the President negotiates treaties but cannot approve them alone. Option C is incorrect because the House of Representatives does not have a direct role in approving treaties, though they are involved in funding and related legislation. Option D is incorrect because the Supreme Court might interpret treaties but does not approve them. (34) What did the case of Gibbons versus Ogden establish in terms of federal power? A. States could control interstate commerce. B. Congress could regulate interstate commerce. C. Presidential authority over trade agreements. D. Supreme Court oversight of state laws. Do you know the answer? Correct answer. B. Congress could regulate interstate commerce. Explanation. Option B is correct because the Gibbons versus Ogden case in 1824 was about who had the power to control shipping and trade on rivers between states. The Supreme Court ruled that the US Congress has broad power to regulate interstate commerce, business and trade that happens between different states. This was based on the Commerce Clause of the Constitution and greatly expanded the power of the federal government. Option A is incorrect because states controlling interstate commerce is what Ogden argued, but the court disagreed. Option C is incorrect because presidential authority over trade agreements was not the focus of this case, which was about congressional power. Option D is incorrect because Supreme Court oversight of state laws is part of judicial review, but this case specifically focused on the Commerce Clause. 35. What does the 10th Amendment to the Constitution address? A. Protection of voting rights. B. Limits on congressional power. C. Rights not given to federal government are reserved to states. D. Right to bear arms. What do you think is the answer? Correct answer. C. Rights not given to federal government are reserved to states. Explanation. Option C is correct because the 10th Amendment is a key part of understanding how power is divided in the US. It says that any powers that the Constitution doesn't specifically give to the federal government and doesn't specifically forbid the states from having are reserved for the states to handle or for the people themselves. This reinforces the idea of federalism. Option A is incorrect because protection of voting rights is addressed in amendments like the 15th, 19th, 24th and 26th. Option B is incorrect because limits on congressional power are found throughout the Constitution, but the 10th is about reserving undelegated powers. Option D is incorrect because the right to bear arms is the Second Amendment. 36. Which of the following powers is an example of a concurrent power? A. Declaring war. B. Regulating interstate commerce. C. Taxing citizens. D. Issuing passports. Can you guess the answer? Correct answer, C. Taxing citizens. Explanation. Option C is correct because concurrent powers are powers that both the federal government and the state governments can exercise at the same time. Taxing citizens is a classic example. Both the US federal government and state governments can collect taxes. Option A is incorrect because declaring war is an exclusive power of the federal government. Option B is incorrect because regulating interstate commerce is an exclusive power of the federal government. Option D is incorrect because issuing passports is an exclusive power of the federal government. 37. What does the Establishment Clause of the First Amendment prevent? A. Congress from restricting free speech. B. The government from creating an official religion. C. States from passing tax laws. D. The president from appointing judges. Do you know the answer? Correct answer, B. The government from creating an official religion. Explanation. Option B is correct because the Establishment Clause is one of the two parts of the First Amendment that deals with religion. It basically says that the US government cannot set up an official, national religion or church, nor can it pass laws that favour one religion over another, or religion over non-religion. It creates a separation of church and state to some degree. Option A is incorrect because Congress restricting free speech is also protected by the First Amendment, but by its free speech clause, not the Establishment Clause. Option C is incorrect because states passing tax laws is unrelated to the Establishment Clause. Option D is incorrect because the president appointing judges is unrelated to the Establishment Clause. 38. Who has the sole power to bring impeachment charges against a federal official? A. Senate. B. President. C. House of Representatives. D. Supreme Court. Can you guess the answer? Correct answer, C. House of Representatives. Explanation. Option C is correct because the US Constitution gives the House of Representatives the sole power of impeachment, meaning only the House can formally charge a high-ranking federal official accused of serious wrongdoing. Option A is incorrect because the Senate conducts the trial after the House impeaches. Option B is incorrect because the President cannot impeach other federal officials. Option D is incorrect because the Supreme Court does not bring impeachment charges. 39. Which case ruled that individuals must be informed of their rights before police questioning? A. Mapp v. Ohio. B. Gideon v. Wainwright. C. Miranda v. Arizona. D. Roe v. Wade. Can you guess the answer? Correct answer, C. Miranda v. Arizona. Explanation. Option C is correct because the Miranda v. Arizona case in 1966 led to the famous Miranda rights, or Miranda warning. The Supreme Court ruled that before police can question someone who is in custody, they must inform that person of certain constitutional rights, including the right to remain silent and the right to have an attorney present during questioning. Option A is incorrect because Mapp v. Ohio established the exclusionary rule for illegally obtained evidence. Option B is incorrect because Gideon v. Wainwright established the right to an attorney for defendants in criminal cases who cannot afford one. Option D is incorrect because Roe v. Wade dealt with abortion rights. 40. Which clause in the Constitution grants Congress the power to pass laws deemed necessary and proper? A. Commerce Clause. B. Necessary and Proper Clause. C. Supremacy Clause. D. Full Faith and Credit Clause. Can you guess the answer? Correct answer, B. Necessary and Proper Clause. Explanation. Option B is correct because the Necessary and Proper Clause, sometimes called the Elastic Clause, is found in Article 1. Section 8 of the Constitution. It gives Congress the power to make all laws that are necessary and proper for carrying out its other listed powers. This clause has been used to expand the powers of Congress beyond just what's explicitly written down. Option A is incorrect because the Commerce Clause gives Congress power to regulate interstate and foreign commerce. Option C is incorrect because the Supremacy Clause states that federal law is supreme over state law. Option D is incorrect because the Full Faith and Credit Clause requires states to respect the public acts, records, and judicial proceedings of other states. 41. What term describes the division of power between national and state governments? A. Separation of powers. B. Federalism. C. Bicameralism. D. Checks and balances. Do you know the answer? Correct answer, B. Federalism. Explanation. Option B is correct because federalism is the system of government where power is divided and shared between a national government and various state governments. Each level of government has its own set of responsibilities and powers, as outlined in the Constitution. Option A is incorrect because separation of powers refers to dividing government power among the legislative, executive, and judicial branches at the same level. Option C is incorrect because bicameralism refers to a legislature having two houses. Option D is incorrect because checks and balances refers to the system where each branch of government can limit the powers of the other branches. 42. What does the Third Amendment prohibit? A. Self-incrimination. B. Quartering of soldiers in private homes. C. Searches without warrants. D. Excessive bail. Can you guess the answer? Correct answer, B. Quartering of soldiers in private homes. Explanation. Option B is correct because the Third Amendment states that the government cannot force homeowners to let soldiers live in their private homes during peacetime without the owner's consent. And even in wartime, it has to be done according to laws passed by Congress. Option A is incorrect because self-incrimination is protected by the Fifth Amendment. Option C is incorrect because searches without warrants are generally protected by the Fourth Amendment. Option D is incorrect because excessive bail is prohibited by the Eighth Amendment. 43. Which document was the first governing framework of the United States? A. The Declaration of Independence. B. The U.S. Constitution. C. The Articles of Confederation. D. The Bill of Rights. Do you know the answer? Correct answer, C. The Articles of Confederation. Explanation. Option C is correct because after the United States declared independence, its first attempt at a national government was set up under the Articles of Confederation. This document created a very weak central government and gave most of the power to the individual states. Option A is incorrect because the Declaration of Independence declared freedom from Great Britain but didn't set up a government structure. Option B is incorrect because the US Constitution replaced the Articles of Confederation. Option D is incorrect because the Bill of Rights are the first 10 amendments to the US Constitution. 44. What did the 12th Amendment change about the electoral process? A. Allowed popular vote for president. B. Separated votes for president and vice president. C. Set presidential term limits. D. Guaranteed equal voting rights. What do you think is the answer? Correct answer. B. Separated votes for president and vice president. Explanation. Option B is correct because the 12th Amendment, ratified in 1804, changed how the president and vice president are elected by the Electoral College. The 12th Amendment requires electors to cast one distinct vote for president and one distinct vote for vice president. Option A is incorrect because the Electoral College system remains, and the 12th Amendment did not introduce popular vote for president. Option C is incorrect because presidential term limits were established by the 22nd Amendment, not the 12th. Option D is incorrect because while the 15th, 19th, 24th and 26th Amendments address voting rights, the 12th Amendment focuses specifically on the procedure for electing the president and vice president. 45. Which amendment lowered the voting age to 18? A. 24th Amendment, B. 26th Amendment, C. 19th Amendment, D. 21st Amendment. What do you think is the answer? Correct answer, B. 26th Amendment. Explanation. Option B is correct because the 26th Amendment, added to the Constitution in 1971, lowered the minimum voting age in all federal and state elections from 21 to 18. This happened largely because of the Vietnam War, with the argument old enough to fight, old enough to vote. Option A is incorrect because the 24th Amendment abolished poll taxes, which were used to disenfranchise poor voters. Option C is incorrect because the 19th Amendment granted women the right to vote in 1920. Option D is incorrect because the 21st Amendment repealed prohibition, which had banned the sale and consumption of alcohol. 46. What issue did the case of Roe v. Wade address? A. Voting rights. B. Freedom of speech. C. Abortion rights. D. Right to a fair trial. What do you think is the answer? Correct answer, C. Abortion rights. Explanation. Option C is correct because Roe v. Wade was a landmark Supreme Court decision that recognised a woman's constitutional right to have an abortion, based on a right to privacy under the 14th Amendment. Option A is incorrect because voting rights concern the legal right to vote, which was not the central issue in Roe v. Wade. Option B is incorrect because freedom of speech concerns the right to express oneself without government censorship, which is unrelated to the abortion rights issue. Option D is incorrect because the right to a fair trial pertains to legal proceedings and due process, not reproductive rights. 47. What does the term bicameral refer to in the context of the US Congress? A. Having two branches of government. B. Having two chambers within the legislative branch. C. Holding a direct democracy. D. Including a Supreme Court. What do you think is the answer? Correct answer, B. Having two chambers within the legislative branch. Explanation. Option B is correct because bicameral means two chambers or two houses. When we say the US Congress is bicameral, it means the legislative branch is divided into two separate parts, the House of Representatives and the Senate. Option A is incorrect because the US has three branches of government, not two. Option C is incorrect because bicameral refers to the structure of the legislature, not the method of democracy. Option D is incorrect because the Supreme Court is part of the judicial branch, not the legislative branch, which is described by bicameral. 48. Which amendment provides protection against double jeopardy? A. 5th Amendment. B. 6th Amendment C. 8th Amendment D. 10th Amendment. Can you guess the answer? Correct answer, A. 5th Amendment. Explanation. Option A is correct because the 5th Amendment to the US Constitution includes several protections for people accused of crimes. One of these is the protection against double jeopardy, which means that a person cannot be tried twice by the same government for the same crime after they have been found innocent or, in some cases, after they have been convicted and punished. Option B is incorrect because the Sixth Amendment deals with rights to a speedy trial and a lawyer. Option C is incorrect because the Eighth Amendment protects against cruel and unusual punishment. Option D is incorrect because the 10th Amendment deals with powers reserved to the states. 49. What is the Supremacy Clause? A. States that treaties take precedence over all other laws. B. Establishes the President as head of state. C. Declares the Constitution as the supreme law of the land. D. Requires a balanced budget. Do you know the answer? Correct answer, C. Declares the Constitution as the supreme law of the land. Explanation. Option C is correct because the Supremacy Clause, found in Article 6 of the US Constitution, states that the Constitution itself, federal laws made according to the Constitution, and treaties made by the US are the supreme law of the land. Option A is incorrect because treaties are part of the supreme law, but the clause is broader than just treaties. Option B is incorrect because the President's role as head of state is established elsewhere in the Constitution, not by the Supremacy Clause. Option D is incorrect because the Supremacy Clause does not address budget matters. 50. What does the Eighth Amendment prohibit? A. Cruel and unusual punishment. B. Double jeopardy. C. Self-incrimination. D. Quartering of troops. Can you guess the answer? Correct answer, A. Cruel and unusual punishment. Explanation. Option A is correct because the Eighth Amendment is designed to protect people from overly harsh or barbaric treatment by the government if they are accused or convicted of a crime. It specifically prohibits cruel and unusual punishments. It also protects against excessive bail and excessive fines. Option B is incorrect because double jeopardy is protected by the Fifth Amendment. Option C is incorrect because self-incrimination is also protected by the Fifth Amendment. Option D is incorrect because quartering of troops is prohibited by the Third Amendment. You have reached the end of our first question set. For the free complete exam preparation, visit our website link in the description, where you find thousands more practice questions and comprehensive study guides. Thanks for studying with us today. See you in the next video.